that that's the part we skip past, that healing journey, that trauma journey, that really figuring out our identity, who we are. So I think for me, it's being able to now, after I've done all that, recognize the beauty that is in my life.
Yeah. Putting on like the lens of joy, helping you see through the challenges, peace despite the problems. When we say joy is a resistance, kind of like resisting that issue that's trying to make you feel depressed. Welcome to Journey to Joy Live, a podcast to promote wellness, resilience, and inspire joy. Be empowered to balance your mental, physical, financial, aspirational, and social health while providing mental health awareness and breaking down the stigma of mental illness in the Black community. I'm your host, Dr. Int Joy, and I'm here to help you transform life's challenges into opportunities for joy. Let's begin the journey together. Hey, y'all, we episode 101, which means we made it past episode 100. Why can't I just be happy? The truth about joy and what's blocking it. And I have special guest, Dr. Ayo Gathing, who is a mirror image of me. I mean, you're a psychiatrist like me, chief medical officer like me, podcaster like me, wife, mom, boss like me. I mean, what don't you do? Come on now.
Bring energy, girl.
Hey. Oh, and boy mom. How about that?
Boy mom, double boy mom.
Yes. Well, other than what I just said, tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Yeah. So like you said, I am a child adolescent psychiatrist. I actually work at a company that looks at how hospital systems, health insurance, and other entities integrate behavioral health into their whole health strategy. So that's relatively new for me the last 2 months. Jumped ship a little bit and started something new. Yeah, girl. So yes, I am at a new role and just loving life. And like you said, boy mom to 2 rambunctious boys that at any minute might bust through a locked door here.
Oh yeah, I already heard in the background. That's all right. That happens to me where they bust through too.
Luckily, everyone, that's a part of being a wife and mom boss, right?
It happens. How old are they now?
5 and 6.
Oh, 5 and 6. I don't remember them being that close together. And yeah, they're older.
Yes.
Mine are 2 and 4.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, right. Oh, wow. That's so cool.
My podcast is God Meets Therapy. So looking at kind of that intersection of mental health and wellness and spirituality. So
awesome. And who is your co-host? You can't.
My co-host is my man.
Yes.
Jason, and people don't know he used to do ABA therapy, and so he has a background in mental health too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did learn that when I was watching an episode of your podcast.
Yeah. He talked. Yeah, that's right. A lot of people don't know what it means, so they're like, "Well, what is that?"
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I love it. Everybody needs to go over there. I just should have wrote that down. What's the name of your YouTube channel? With your podcast?
So easy. God Meets Therapy. We named all of our stuff God Meets Therapy. So everybody can find us if you know the name of it.
Awesome. And if people go to this website, what are they finding?
They're going to find all the interesting things about myself and my background and all the things I do or try to do as side gigs when I get like 1 second of time to myself.
Okay. Well, sounds good. All right. And then we got your handle here as well, Ayo Gathing MD. So that's very consistent. That's how you can find her. So we're going to jump right in. Journey to Joy Live. We're always talking about joy. I'm always talking about joy. A lot of people feeling like, well, why can't I feel happy? Why can't I experience joy? And just last week, we were talking about our journey to joy, fueling our journey to joy, going from stress to joy. How can you do that? Because it feels so natural to just like, when you get upset, it's so easy to go straight to anger, straight to sadness when something sad happens. It's not always easy when to go straight to happiness, especially if something bad is happening, right?
Right.
And so we got a lot of people that they hear us talk about gratitude and positive affirmations. They're just like, but I can't be happy. Why can't I be happy? Do you have patients that say that?
All the time, especially when I'm working with the teenagers who life is just so immediate and in front of them and they don't have that good sense of long-term future thinking and they're really responding to what's in the moment and they're just everything that happens externally to them, oh, woe is me.
Oh my goodness. And you know what? Right there is an answer to one of the questions is basically what's blocking it. And I feel like when we get depressed, it's like it's forever. We feel
Right,
yeah, it's all right.
right.
That's what it feels like that this sadness, this tragedy, this stressor is forever. And so
That's
what's blocking it is your concept of like thinking it's never going to end.
that's right. I mean, I think the thing is sometimes there's a block on even understanding what joy and happiness means, right? It really starts with how we define it. Some people define it by finding a person or like accomplishing some sort of thing they set out to do or achievement, or some people
Circumstance.
think it's, who
Yeah.
they are, like, in terms of their what they do, their career or things like that. So I think sometimes the unblock is really realizing that the joy is a controllable emotion that you're saying yes to and choosing that every single day.
Yep, it's an emotion and a choice at the
That's
same time, and it doesn't depend on your life circumstance. When people are waiting to get married, waiting to get kids, waiting to get that job for joy, and, like, I kinda laugh at that because being a wife and a mother is hard. So you waiting on that for your joy?
well, it's one of those things because I've experienced some of these things, right? It's like a practice what you preach. Sometimes you slip back into old patterns. And
Uh-huh.
I have been that person where you glorify that thing you don't have,
Same,
right?
same.
Like, oh, I'm single, right? I want to be married. And then sometimes when you're married, you're like, ooh, single life was looking real good, right? So it's that internal search of like perfection in how we feel, right? Which is never going to happen.
Perfection. Yeah. Well, you know what? Listening to what you said, when I was single, I really, really wanted to be married. And I was almost depressed because I'm just like, why am I not married? What is wrong with me? Now that I'm married, although it's hard, I don't really want to be single. So I
No.
think that in and of itself shows that
Those are fleeting thoughts, you know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Those are fleeting thoughts of like, this is hard, right? Like aspects of whatever you're doing. It's kind of like a job, right? Like the
Yep.
person that goes from one job to the one job to the one job looking for, the perfect job, right? And the perfect
Yeah.
situation. So I think it's just in those fleeting moments of challenges or difficulty trying to figure out like, how can I escape this discomfort?
Exactly, because it that just shows that it takes work for your joy. It takes work to be joyful in your marriage, to be joyful as a parent, and especially work. I mean, that's your work is being a
Mhm.
boss. So
That's
it takes work, and people believe, and that's one myth is that, that it's just gonna fall and come natural. Maybe something happy happens. Sure, it's natural, but maybe that's that honeymoon phase. And as that melts away, you have to do more work for your joy.
that's right. That's right. I
Yeah.
love that. Doing work for your joy. It's a concept people don't they think it should just happen. I agree with you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like with my running, I always talk about like that's my 0 to 100 from stress to joy. I get on a treadmill, it just instant for me. And of course I don't stay on just for a couple of seconds. I'm there for like 30 minutes and I just continue to feel so good. But that takes work. It's not
Yeah.
easy to run.
Yeah. It's no,
I don't
no.
always
And
feel
like
like
when you
it.
said that's what brings you joy, I was thinking, yeah, not my
I
select.
know everybody says
Listen,
that.
I mean, I know people who really enjoy running or really enjoy like workouts or yoga or whatever their thing is. And I
Mhm.
remember Zumba back in the day, girl, whenever I do Zumba. Yeah, girl. A good
That was
Zumba class
fun.
used to really, girl, I used to
Mhm.
you know? So I do think sometimes you have to play with it. You have to experience and try things out and figure out what
Mhm.
works for you and not listen to the outside world. Like you should try Orange Theory. Shout out to Orange Theory. It's all
Yeah.
good for some people, but
Yeah.
that might not be your
Or
thing.
Pilates. I haven't even tried it, but that people around
Ah,
doing it.
it's good, but it's not like, oh, I can't wait to go to Pilates. It brings me joy.
Right. Well, yeah, and the thing about exercise in general, like, I'm really using those endorphins, like, it's a
Yeah.
biochemical reason why it
Yeah.
brings me joy.
No, I do
Yeah.
think that when I exercise and after I get there, right? Like that's the part,
Gotta
right?
get there.
Hyping yourself up. There is something to be said for I usually feel really good after, no matter what kind of workout it is.
Yeah. So what's your go-to for your
So
joy?
days, it's definitely been some form of dance. Like, I really like, I used to
Mhm.
dance in high school and, like, cheer and stuff like that. I think that has always been a foundation of fun workout for me. But
Mhm.
what I started doing, which plays into our session here, I started
Mhm.
going on walks in the morning.
Really?
My time, no one's with me, and either listen to a good audiobook or really just enjoying being present and seeing nature and, as they say, touching grass or having feet to the ground. So it's lame because I'm not doing it to, like, be buff or skinny or anything,
Right, right.
but really just to get those endorphins and step outside of myself.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes under, like, grounding, that gets us away from the anxiety and stress. You're making yourself present and the mindfulness, right? You're being very mindful of what's going on around you. You're using your senses, and you're touching the soft flowers and smelling
That's
it
right.
sounds dainty,
That's
but it's
right.
actually what's needed to combat stress and anxiety and all those things.
For real.
So it's good that you're doing that because a lot of times we might recommend stuff to patients when we don't do it ourselves.
That was me for a long time. I mean, you just have to be intentional. I think that's what it is for anything, whether it's, running, Zumba, workout. I mean, you just have to be intentional about saying, I'm gonna do this and sticking to
Mhm,
it. That's the
mhm.
major part.
And that's what I like about behavioral activation therapy, what I tell people, because 'cause they're waiting for them to feel like doing something in
Mm,
order to do that thing. I don't feel like exercising, I'm too depressed. I don't feel like going for a walk, I'm too depressed. I don't feel like eating healthy, I'm too but behavioral activation, puts the cart before the horse, like,
that's
"Okay,
right.
this is the things you gotta do today. You gotta do it no matter what."
That's right. Try to figure
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah, so it takes work. So good. Going back to what you said, like we have to change our definition of joy. So pretty much what's your working definition of joy?
So I that's such a good question. So I think for me, it is finding the beauty in the moments, right? Not
Mm.
every moment,
Mhm.
but in the moments, right? So being a mother, working, grocery shopping, like, just finding that sense of, like, my life has some purpose, has some meaning, and has
Yeah.
some beautiful moments.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but I think for me, it's that peace, and I had
Mhm.
to find it. I don't think I had peace. I had to do the work to have that inner peace, to
Mhm.
recognize the beauty in my life and moments. So I think that's the part. We skip past that healing journey, that trauma journey, that, really figuring out our identity, who we are. So I think for me, it's being able to now, after I've done all that, recognize the beauty that is in my life.
Yeah, yeah, putting on, like, the lens of joy, helping you see through the challenges, peace despite the problems. When we say, joy is a resistance, kinda like resisting that issue that's trying to make you feel depressed.
That's right.
And a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about joy in the midst of grief, and we were talking about how, like, you can have the concept of having joy and pain at the same time. What
Right.
about joy and depression at the same time?
And joy and depression at the same time is for me, like in working with my clients or my patients or whoever is in front of me, that
Mhm.
is the trickiest one because as we
Mhm.
know, depression sometimes put a lens over you that you only see
Mhm.
the negative, that you're filtering
Mhm.
everything through a negative lens.
Yeah.
I think that's where gratitude does start to creep in, right? Like, I'm breathing.
Mhm.
I may or may not, have people in my life that I have loved and that have loved me at some point. I do have a sense of purpose, or I do have, you have to figure out what you
Mhm.
are grateful for.
Mhm.
Most of the time, you can get people to name at least one thing. Sometimes it takes a minute.
Yeah.
But if you can get them to name one thing, you just say, "Yep, let's lock on that," right? And build on
Yeah.
that. And as they start coming out of that fog, they can usually that's kinda how I check sometimes with people who
Mhm.
could barely name one thing,
Mhm.
not the naming 5, 6 things, 10 things. I'm like, "Okay, we're getting there, right? We're good."
Yeah, and they really have to hold on to those things because there's always something to be proud of or to be grateful. I was literally just talking to a patient about this because she's very concerned. She's older, use of her legs. She has a use of her legs, but it's just really hard without this chronic pain. And so, like, it can be hard to think of your body as this great thing that's helping you get through life when you have pain and difficulty walking. But I was just like, there's actually a ton of things that your body's doing for you. You're breathing on your own. You can hear, you can smell, you can taste, and I'm like, well, that's just 5 things real quick. So there's always something that your body is doing or that's happening that you're able to be grateful of, which is why it's good to have a list of things that to be
That's right.
grateful of. So when you're
Yeah.
in those times of need, you got to look back at that list and it helps.
Right. But what is challenging, and this might be a question for you, sometimes people are not even grateful to be alive, right? Or be
Oh,
living or have breath. And those are the moments I've found, where either someone else has saved them, right? I've
mhm.
had or someone else saved them, or, they're being forced in some capacity to engage. It's always easier when someone brings themselves to treatment, but if someone else is bringing them or they did not want to be alive, and that's where, saying your body has breath and you're alive, it's like, well, I didn't really want that. So, I've had that challenge of saying, okay, well, now that you're here, where could we go? Where can you find gratitude in, a life being saved? Oh, someone saved you. Someone cared enough about you to try, right? So really digging in and sometimes that takes really getting to know someone's thought process and ethos really.
Yeah, and that really sounds like from a person who might be suicidal and can't
Mhm.
see the happiness in life, can't see. Oh my gosh, I was talking to a young patient just yesterday. It hurts like every time, right? You think as a psychiatrist that you can
Yeah,
really like listen to
yeah.
all this, but it really does affect us too.
It
But
does.
just to hear our young people say, "No, I'm not hopeful for the future. No, I don't see myself as a grown man and doing this, that, and the other." It's just like, wow. But that's a thing that can block joy, right? Real life severe depression, suicidal thoughts and that's when we really do have to interject medication and therapy because maybe you can't get to that joy without those things.
That's right. And that's
Yeah.
and then that's what I tell people. It's like we have to really look at the approach and really figure out what works
Mhm.
best for you. As you know, sometimes it's just therapy or sometimes it may just be cognitive or, some activation, but sometimes it is medication based in partnership with those things.
Mhm, mhm, and that's okay, cause
Okay.
it don't mean you have to be on the rest of your life.
Right. And a lot of people don't know that. So that is a
Yeah.
confusion. I'm glad, you just threw that in. But cause then I tell people like, let's see, let's do a trial. Let's see where you're at. Like give it time. Right. So yeah, some people hear like, "Oh, I gotta be a mess. Gotta do it forever," right? So I think that messaging needs to be clear.
Yeah, because you may have had so much trauma that it blocks you from even being able to go to therapy because you're triggered, you're activated every time you go to therapy. You're like, I don't want to do therapy because I'm feeling it all the time. So maybe you need that medication to get you to a point where you are able to go to therapy.
Right.
And then once you get that therapy, that's when you start to go down on the doses and maybe get off of it. So
Yeah,
that
I receive that therapy itself is doing something powerful to our brain and our neurotransmitters and adjusting things as well as medicine, in different ways. And sometimes you're not even ready to receive or engage or, really be a part of therapy unless, other areas of your body and brain aren't reacting. So I truly believe that's why in a lot of severe cases they work best together.
Mhm. Another thing that's blocking our joy is stubbornness. Because even I can sometimes feel like I know I'm at a fork in the road where this is joy and this is stress, and the thing in between is whether or not I apologize to my husband or not. Something as simple as that, right?
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes I choose violence, like, that old saying, like, I chose violence today, right? I chose the wrong decision knowing, right? Like, but that's sometimes what we do. The humans be human, and that's my new thing. We just humans. We be humaning.
We human, you know, and Imma say this because we beyond it. I'm gonna tell you this real life story. So, I actually put a piece of gum in my mouth the other day, and I didn't choke on the actual gum, but I guess, like, the fluid that was created from I was choking, so I was choking. I couldn't there was no air. So, my husband was on the other side of the, house, and he said, "Are you okay?" He just what happens when you choke? Can you respond and say yes or no? No, you can't, right?
You just he reacted though, girl.
So then after I've done, like, everything's going, I look at him, I'm like, "Why did you" I get upset, right? "Why did you come over? I was joking." He's like, "But I didn't know." I'm like, "Did you come over?" So I actually get genuinely upset. So then he's upset because 'cause I'm upset. And as we talked about a few weeks ago, men have this innate fear of failure. Women have this innate fear of, abandonment, right?
Yes,
So then I probably activated that fear of failure because I'm just like, "You didn't come save my
that's
life,"
right.
right? So I was being stubborn because 'cause I'm just like, "I'm just gonna be mad at you because why didn't you?" And several hours later, because that's how long it took, I said, "You know what, baby? I am so sorry for making you feel like you didn't you were inadequate or that you didn't save my life because that was just real silly." And everything just went away. Everything was just
Yeah.
perfect.
I love that, and I think that's where we have to understand it's never too late to turn things
Yeah,
right. It's never too but sometimes our pride,
pride.
right? We get it, but sometimes our pride keeps us from turning it around and we dig in, right? We put our line in the sand. And that's what I think has really this phase of my life where I'm trying to become a better wife and mother and everything. You realize like it's never too late to erase that line in the sand, turn it around and just be like, you know what? My bad. I'm so sorry. That was that was not I did not do that the best way. I could
Right, it's like, whatever. Because like, do you wanna be right or do you wanna be married? Which
do you
one?
wanna be right? Do you wanna be employed? Right?
Oh, ooh, oh, yeah.
A lot of
Other
people
roles
are
too.
like, "Yeah, she crazy or he crazy. Yes, they're racist. Yes, they're whatever. What are you
Oh,
gonna do?" Like, you
right.
have to choose you
Ooh.
in those moments and do what you know will help you manage those situations instead of throwing that gasoline, right? Where we
But
know
Doc, they offended me. They called me out my name. What you mean I gotta be respectful to my boss? What you talking about? I
yeah,
can't just quit every job?
can't just quit every job. Well, I mean, if you got somebody supporting you, that sounds joyful that you have the choice to not work, but a lot of us at least need time to find a new one before we lose this
Right,
one.
right. Well, that's that emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, right? We can't just be impulsive because that's the thing. You think about it later and you're like, "Okay, yeah, this is ridiculous." We were talking about that last week. You can choose to be offended or not.
It's a choice that we have learned that we can make, right? Sometimes we hear things for so long, like, especially the young people, "I blacked out," "I went red." It's always colors. They'd be like,
Say that.
yeah, and
Yes.
I'm like, "No, you were very angry. Your senses did overwhelm you in that moment, but then you made a choice. So quick, fast, and a hurt." So I think that's where that mindfulness comes in, where we realize what's going on in our bodies, and that happened for me later in life too. Like, I used to ignore my body cues, but now
Mhm.
I start to feel like,
Mhm.
feeling my heart beating, I'm feeling a little warm, beating my mouth dry. Okay, I know what
Mhm.
this is. I know I'm getting activated in the wrong ways. Like, let me try to make a mental choice here. So I think that's where mindfulness and being aware and knowing ourselves and our body
Mhm.
really helps us be able to choose joy in those moments.
Exactly. Intention, consistency, work, and doing those things and practicing them even when that stressor is not there so that you're ready for it. Because you
That's
mentioned that
right.
it's quick. When your body gets to that fight or flight stage or wherever it's at. But if you're used to that mindfulness, used to the gratefulness, used to those self-care techniques that you do, and when it happens, it's like it'll come naturally.
That's right. How do you think people should best practice those things so that they're ready in the moment? Like, how you get ready, so you can stay ready?
Get ready so you can stay ready. Well, okay, obviously, I'm gonna go back to the running. I that's why I have to make sure I run every day or do some type of workout every day. There might be a day that I skip because maybe Thursday night I ran and I can skip Friday, but then
Mhm.
Saturday morning, that kind of thing, so it's close. So that's what I know that I have to do because if I don't work out, I know I'm more sensitive. certain words, I'm just like, "Wait, that usually wouldn't make me cry or make me feel that kinda way, but it is now." So just getting on top of it by doing that, whatever your daily self-care is. So I have to
Yeah,
make sure I have that in and have some me time, listen to some music. You mentioned dance, I enjoy dancing, those kind of things. So it's really about what works for you.
that's right.
So
Yeah,
and
and
the time, fitting
yeah, we
in.
explored that a lot, and, our show, of course, is God Meets Therapy, and a lot of people lean into prayer, and meditation, reading their Bible, things like that, so I would be, remiss if I didn't mention that, of course,
Yeah, of course.
once you read what's in that Bible, I've realized sometimes I've been like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, yeah.
A lot of things I could do better if we're looking at, the Bible standards
Yeah.
versus societal standards. So that's been a really good lever for me here lately.
Spirituality, faith, God, all those things. I mean, that's real. I mean, when I have a patient, I ask them, of course, you're going to ask your patients what kind of religion they practice. So when they practice Christianity, I said, well, is it okay if I incorporate scripture and those things in therapy? Because you have to use every aspect of your life. And if that's important to you, we're going to incorporate that. And I used to feel that even on this podcast, talking about God, no, we can't do that. But when I wrote the book, Wife, Mom, Boss, I started looking back through my journals and I'm like, wait a minute. The majority of my life was about because of my faith. Like the reason I'm a doctor is because God told me this is my calling, and all these scriptures talk about joy, joy, joy. And so that was like the work that I was doing back in undergrad and trying to get into med school was like all these joy-filled scriptures that got me to this place where I'm at where it's just so easy for me to have joy because these scriptures are just like embedded in me. So I'm like, wait, why wouldn't I talk about God, faith, and the joy?
That's
So,
right. And
yeah.
that's where my husband was like, why not? Like, why do something that's just mental health when we can really pull out this faith-based piece and highlight it as such a major part and a foundation? Because for some people that being of faith and that's their compass, right?
Mhm,
And that directs therapy or relationships or their
mhm.
purpose and everything else they do, and that really tethers them. So I think that's so important to realize.
That's so awesome, and so with that said, 'cause I was gonna ask you about God Meets Therapy, so, I mean, you were already talking about it, but h how did that derive, and tell us more about that podcast?
So for those of you who don't know, probably most of you don't, my husband was actually in a really bad car accident
Oh.
in 2022 where he was in the ICU. He almost lost his life.
Mm,
And he came out of that accident after his jaw was wired shut, you know, and he said, I spent time with God. And, depending on your audience, depending on your face, some people were like, okay, well, but, I truly was like, okay. And he said, God said, he wants me to get back into mental health, right? Because at that point, he had been doing a lot of
mm,
other business things. But he said he also wants people to know me. And I said,
mm,
what does that look like? How do you get back into mental health and help people know him? It doesn't really seem related. So we kind of left it where it was at and just kind of
yeah,
went on living. And it just really came about out of that, like how he started meditating, praying more, his war room, and he really got inspired. Because we talked about starting a podcast, kind of more relationship based,
yeah.
but it came out like, wait, let's bring mental health and spirituality together. So it was just so cool. It was kind of based on that experience he had.
That's nice, where God meets therapy, because when you talk about, what blocks joy and what blocks mental health and your treatments, it's usually like, "Oh, no, pray about it. Nope, mm-mm, no, you can't see no psychiatrist medication. No, you crazy. No, you're not gonna do that." And so it's really good to hear God meets therapy because we need both. We
You
need
need
God, we need
both.
therapy.
And if that's your thing, and if it's not, that's okay, right? Not judging, but
Mhm,
maybe you need to be meditating or
mhm,
manifesting or whatever you have to have some ethos or self-care tools or something that keeps you
mhm,
grounded,
mhm,
to really be able to experience joy. Because if you're not really understanding who you are and what,
mhm.
you're here for, then it is hard to find joy in the moment to moment.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what prayer is. Prayer is meditation. It's getting yourself outside of your head, outside of those racing, thoughts, overthinking, anxiety, and grounding yourself into something outside of yourself so that you're not so stressed out and getting lost in those negative thoughts.
That's right.
So you're focusing yourself on something. And if that focus is on God and believing that He's going to answer your prayer versus thinking about the oceans and your
Right.
finances, hey,
Right. That's right. That's right. I agree.
yeah, yeah. That's why prayer works. At least to calm you down.
That's for me.
Yeah, it gives you clarity and all those things. So yeah, cool. So there's a lot of things that block joy. So let's get beyond our pride. Let's get beyond our stubbornness. Let's reframe the concept of joy. It's not going to just fall on you. You got to work for it, and you have to be intentional, and you have to be consistent. That's for
That's
sure.
right. That's it. That sounds easy.
Yeah. It's what is that phrase? It's simple but not easy.
It's simple, but not easy. That's right.
Just
And
do it, but it's
you
hard.
just gotta figure out kind of and for some people, we're talking about wife, mom, boss, right? I had to learn that people pleasing and
Right.
overachievement and, giving up boundaries was not healthy. Right,
Mm.
and that took me a long time to figure out, and especially depending on what you do for work, like in the medical field, it's
Mhm.
almost glorified, like, "Oh, I haven't slept a week," and I don't, and
Yeah.
in this
I
hustle
gave
culture
birth and I went right down and saw a
that's
patient.
and this hustle culture, my husband's an entrepreneur, he has a lot of entrepreneur friends, I hustle, I grind, I travel, I flew 7 flights in a week, and I'm like, "Oh god, that sounds right?" So I think
That sounds
society has been
cool.
so yeah, right. Instant gratification and no boundaries and overworking. I think that's all based on, not being able to realize that we have to enjoy the present. The journey.
Right,
The
right.
journey is the destination, right? Like this
Uh-huh.
and it took me a long time to realize that. So now I tell everyone I can, right? Like boundaries, saying no
Boundaries.
when you need to, right? Not all the
Mhm.
time when you need to, and
Yeah.
really finding peace for yourself, taking a nap, right? I can't I there were I
Ooh, a nap.
after
What's
birth, my
that?
child I right. I was like, "You know what?" Somebody asked me, "What you got a babysitter, what you wanna do?" "Take a nap." "I don't want no Netflix and chill, I don't want none of that, I want a nap," right? But it took me a long time to be empowered enough to say that without feeling like, "Okay, I'm not doing something fun, or I'm not out on the town, or doing something with my
Yeah.
husband," or whatever, like so I think people have to realize that those identities and expectations and things that we put on ourselves are coming out of things that we need to do to grow.
Yeah, and sometimes those expectations come from you, like you said, and just hearing you say you choose a nap, like, sometimes I get mad at myself. I'm like, "Just take a nap," like, when I have the time, but then I'm like, "But no, I might as well run because then I'll get my run out of the way, then I'm done with the run, and then the baby wake up." I'm like,
That's
"Oh, I
right.
coulda napped."
Right, you coulda had a nap and a short run or a ab workout and a nap, something.
Something. And this is the way I justify it. This is good though, because if the baby's up and I'm on the treadmill, then he gonna get on the treadmill, then I'm scared he gonna get injured. But if I'm asleep and he wakes up, then it's like, he not gonna get injured because 'cause I'm asleep. So
That's right. There we go.
you gotta think of like
Intention. You're being intentional.
yeah, yeah. But no, there are some times where I'm just like, "Look, I am tired. I'm going to sleep."
Right.
Mhm. Yes. Oh, man. So this has been a great conversation about joy, what's blocking it, how we can unblock it. So, I mean, it's right there. It's in your reach, but you
It's
have to
right
put in your
there.
head that it's you gonna work for it.
You gotta decide and make the decision and then be intentional
Mhm.
about capturing it or really embracing it in the moment, right? It's not something you're
Yeah.
running to and
Yeah.
trying to get to or find.
Right. It could be like the work because 'cause you're journaling, work because mindfulness, you have to be intentional about getting mindful. Yeah, so that's true too. Yes.
Yes.
So, as I ask every guest, what has your personal journey to joy been like?
So what has my personal journey to
As your
joy look
child tries to get in.
as my child throws something through the
I
door?
was gonna say, "You let him in, we ending."
Girl, they won't let me answer the question. But I do think, you know, realizing that I was putting a lot of expectations on myself and then upset with myself for not living up to them,
Yeah.
and redefining joy, redefining happiness, redefining what my goals were. I think that really was my journey, to finding joy.
Exactly. That's good, and once you do that, then you chase what makes you happy. So
That's right.
everybody's place of joy is different.
That's right.
Yes. Well, thank you. So we said that we can find you at Ayo Gathing MD, also on the podcast God Meets Therapy with your hubby.
Check
So
me
we
out,
gon
check us
how
out.
often y'all put out an episode?
Every Friday,
Oh, this
every
is
Friday.
weekly.
Yes, yes. So that's right. Come check us out. We got a good one Friday. But wait,
Hey,
watch this one first, you know.
hey. Right, right. They're gonna be watching this to find out about
Watch this one, then find out. Don't skip now. Finish it up and then go to that one.
Sounds great. All right. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you
much
for
for joining me on
having
Journey to
me.
Joy Lab. You're welcome. This has been an Enjoy Life production. If you're in a crisis, don't hesitate. Call, text, or chat 988 for immediate support. Please note, this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional treatment. If you're looking for therapy or medication management through Enjoy Life, visit www.drenjoylife.com to request a consultation. I'm licensed in 12 states. I accept Aetna in Georgia, Florida, and Virginia. Be sure to grab your copy of the Enjoy Note to help you on your wellness journey. Also, check out Inspire Joy for the wife, mom, boss to help you balance it all without losing yourself. Better yet, get the full Joy bundle for just $45. Remember, Journey to Joy Live is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, may you continue to transform stress into joy.